Precisely as last time, I do not feel, or last time. Anyway, I'll do one in English. But nah, I do not feel like it. But I think it's good. Goody good. Perhaps I should just sleep or rest, I don't know. Or go to bed, I don't know. But I can edit anyway if I want to, if I feel like it. I have no bloody idea of what I am going to talk about. So let the talks about trees and stones. No. I do not know. I couldn't care less, because I'm doing it anyway. Life. Life. Death. Pain. I was almost about to start to speak in Swedish. I don't know what to talk about, but usually my brain just comes up with something, and that's most of the time I'm quite proud, satisfied, or most of the time, most videos I finally arrive at something that I think is quite interesting. Why? Because I can decide to focus on what I want to be focused at. And why would I not focus on something that's not interesting? I'm not stupid. I choose. Why should I choose something bad when I can choose something good? I wonder what I should speak about. History. Academic models. Life. What should you do with your life? What's the purpose? What's rational? In general, not in life, but just in what's inside. How does the world work? What should you do in the world? And how do you use knowledge to do that? That's basically what life is all about. If you ask me, I would say that is basically what life is about. To learn a lot, have a lot of knowledge, and use the knowledge to understand what you want and then go after what you want. That is probably a good strategy. Seriously, I do think it basically is. I do think that. What kind of knowledge? How do you learn best? What's the best method to learn things? Read books. Of course, it's multifaceted. Lots of answers. Socializing, conferences, books, seminars. Think. Shows who you're around. Oh. But it's actually unfortunate that I only have 20 minutes left. I think I'm not sure I won't get to some interesting stuff, but usually it feels as if I usually need like quite some time to settle for something interesting. It's as if after 20 minutes I just started. But no, I do not know what I'm going to talk about. And I'm not in the talking mode, I'm just in a spontaneous, I don't know. But it is interesting. Knowledge, life, what you should do about it, strategy to when you know what to do in the big picture, what to do in the small picture, what should you do on a daily basis to get to that goal. And if you identified something, that should I do in order to get there. To do that, how are you going to do that? Which is the books, read books, read books, read books, read books, read books. Thinking about books and knowledge and I don't know. And how to value books compared to different type of videos and just I don't know. The world is so foggy. Feels as if I don't know shit. It just feels as if I know so much about the things you should know about in life and just how you should handle things as a hunter-gatherer would understand a computer the first time he sees one. Well, probably would find it intuitive to use, just clicking around and make stuff happen, but he would not be able to read and he would not know the structure. Maybe that's interesting. Maybe he would figure it out without using computer. I do not know. The world is flat. No, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm doing, but at least there's some sound that's coming out of my mouth, and I'm tempted to think that it's constructive. And if it's not, don't rob me on my fantasy, because I love it. 15 minutes to go. This is so bloody constructive. So I'm shitting my pants. No. It's actually quite interesting what you... I mean, there are so many ways to behave, so many ways to act and be. Like for example, what I just... There's so extremely many nuances of how you carry your character, or how should you verbalize it, how you behave and how you say stuff and what you do. And it's interesting both partly how you make it, how that makes you feel, how others perceive that, and how they perceive it depending on who they are and how they work, and perhaps, dare I say it, what genes they have. Of course it matters. That's very interesting, and I also think it's important. I mean, if I got an urge to behave in a way that would make most people miserable, pissed off, and just worse off, I should not do it. Probably not even if I think it's if it feels good. If it's not sort of a long-term positive thing, but then it's like on the totality of it. If it makes have a bad impact, it should not behave like it. And I just happen to think about it because it is like, for example, I could behave in a million ways in these type of videos and in my daily life, and we all have sort of strict ourselves in different ways in how we behave, and it is it's why it's interesting is because it's easy to say just be spontaneous, just do whatever you like, but the reality is that most behaviors have been what is it, beaten out of you brutally because if you behave like that, people will not appreciate it. You've learned what behavior you make that will cause real pain because people will punish you because you behave like it. I don't say this as if I can bear to mind many things that I know. I think it would be interesting to think about, and I have some ideas of what, of course, could have happened now and then. Of course, but I'm just saying it just like it's an obvious fact that we, depending on what is rewarded and not rewarded in interaction with others, is behaviors that will be reinforced. And it's different. I mean, some people will reward one type of behavior and punish another, while it could be reversed for another person. And so, that's extremely interesting. And it's, yeah, so like all this, like be yourself, and like, for example, when I think I sometimes I can think it's good to be spontaneous and just do random things, and at the same time, like, for example, what I do in these videos and other things I just do, I of course have an awareness, as we all have, of our behaviors. Like, is this a good way to behave? And I do not think, like some people would say, oh, you can not judge yourself all the time, and sort of, that could be a point of that. But I think it's extremely important to be aware of your behavior and why you're doing stuff. And so it's not as if I calculatedly behave in a different way, but as we all do, we experiment with different ways of behaving, and or just with life in general, I guess, but not necessarily strategically, but but it is not cut and clear, like it's not written in stone like how you should behave. It's definitely not obvious at all, like what's the right way to behave. But at the same time, usually when I behave in different ways, and I usually, to be honest, have a quite strong sense of judgment whether this was good or bad, or at least I'm sort of, and I think most people work the same way. I don't know, but we're probably, perhaps people are different in how they react to that. I don't know, but it is interesting because it's so much of life in general, social interactions and so forth. And what was I thinking about it? Yeah, anyway, I think it's there's so many customs and just behavioral patterns, and just so many layers, and what's different types of behaviors, and like in the grand scheme of just where you, I don't know, buy your food, where you exercise, how you exercise, if you exercise, what you eat, but also like how you behave socially, what you say and how you interact, and all type of shit like that, sort of expressing myself in that way and with that attitude and with that incomplete accent. All sort of small things add up to a perception and I would say a feeling just of, well, that's something I appreciate, that's something I do not appreciate, or it's just something somewhere in between. And I do not think it's trivial at all. It's because all those things, all those small things, one after another, and it's just not just behavior, it's how you reason also, and what you take into account, and what your interests are. There's so many things that sort of add up to a sort of impression you get of a human being, and that's both their marketing of themselves as human beings and as potential allies, friends, or in worst case enemies. But and it's what I was also thinking about. It's also and how one person, how you perceive, how a person is perceived to have, in the same way as if allies and so forth, how much that person is that person in what they're doing promoting something good, will more interaction with that human being cause more pain for myself and people around, or more pleasure? Will it not just pain and just and it's not only just do I feel good about the things that a person says and behave, and there are so many. Well, maybe it's that, because if you say, oh, I don't care about how I feel when I listen to someone, I care about if that person is smart, if they have rational arguments. But in fact, if that person have rational arguments, that and you appreciate that, you will get a good feeling. That's my point. So it's, yeah, what time is it? Now my brain wants to be spontaneous again. No, it was not one, but I do not behave like I did. I'm tired and I am under the influence of stuff. So I feel I can't behave normally, but who cares? But my brain today has been, I'm always explain, what's the Swedish, what the English word? Ursäkta. I always have excuses for why my brain do not work as I want it to when I'm doing these videos, but maybe that's just a part of the ride. I think it is interesting. But what pisses me off is that I can't, as I've discussed in many of the other videos, I try to sort of, how should you, like, I want the world to be like Tetris, or just logical, or just, it's impossible. I feel it's like you want to use knowledge and academic models to sort of organize, or at least understand the world, and sort of know how to navigate, and just first of all, just get a picture of it. But to be honest, when I think about the discussion I have just had, it feels as if I'm interested in a molecule, and I'm describing it, and it's interesting, but like Tellus or the Earth consists of, I don't know, a Google molecule, I don't know how many. It feels as if I'm concentrating on such a small thing, even though it's big in itself and connected to many things, and it's extremely interesting and I think important. It's as if I want to connect it to basically all other knowledge I have in order to get a clear picture of the world and how to understand it, but I'm failing at it. But at the same time, I also think all people do in a sense, but I don't know. There's so much to understand, and yeah, it's not as if I feel dumb, but I feel my understanding is so extremely incomplete. There's so many, not necessarily blind spots, but plus spots that I do not have on top of my mind in the moment, and that's frustrating. But it's one step at a time, I guess. Bye bye, tschüss late.